Alrighty, folks, as we shared in the daily financial news, the 10-year note took a decent drop after Fed Day. So I wanted to talk with the boys from Convoy and see what is happening to rates. We can talk about their DSCR loan program. The last I heard was sub 6. They also have a bridge sub 8. I want to see if that stuff is still there. And we are going to show you where on Convoy Home Loan site you can actually put one rental at a time, because some people have said they can't find it. So we'll do that as well. We'll probably do that at the end. But Jonathan, are rates better today after the Fed did nothing? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, rates are better, but truthfully, I think they're back where they were like maybe 2, 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So, everyone kind of, I think relativity really speaks a lot, right now, in relativity in terms of where we were a week ago versus where we are a week
Yeah.
later. Everyone kind of forgets what we were doing maybe further than a week back. I think that's the consumer mindset. A lot of,
Yes.
short-term memory, short-term bad news memory, especially. And so people forget that like 3 weeks ago, we were kind of in the same position. What was funny, it was really, really funny, was a client from August of last year
Yeah.
messaged me and said, "Hey, I heard rates are down. Where are the rates now? Can I get down into like the 4s or 5s now?" And I said, "Let me look it up." I looked it up side by side. I kid you not, they were the exact same, like maybe an eighth off.
Yeah, that's really funny you bring that up, because one of the things that I'm tracking right now is, to that point, rates last year versus today, and they are within an eighth, maybe a quarter, which is actually pretty interesting when because again, I study the consumer. A lot of consumers are going to they will, Jonathan, I promise, they'll eventually give up on this short-term bias, and they're like, I guess rates are here. They're eventually going to get there, because they've been here essentially for 52 weeks.
Yeah, and I think the funniest part about all this is people expect rates to just shoot down overnight, and they think the period from August to March, which realistically is not even a full year, but it's like maybe 6 months or so, right? 7 months.
Right.
They think that is like the point where the market's just going to do a total shift, because all of a sudden they forget that August was kind of the same market. But it's kind of like what we've been saying for the last like year, right? Which is we're going to be in the same rate range. It's going to be higher for longer. Like, don't expect for things to shoot down overnight, because that's not the way the market works. And I think that's what kind of people are hoping for.
Yeah, one of the things I was surprised by, and frankly got wrong on Fed Day, was I thought they would take out one of their rate cuts for the year and go from 2 to 1. They kept it at 2. You could look at the distribution, and the distribution is more skewed towards 1, but still the average is 2. I really do think people got to give up on multiple rate cuts. I think inflation is proving to be stickier. I think the threat of tariffs is certainly going to make the next 6 months interesting. Really, let's just be honest. The only way you're going to get massive rate cuts from this Fed, from the Fed and Powell, is if the job market deteriorates and we hit a recession, like a nasty recession. And, sometimes I got to tell people to be careful what they wish for.
Yeah. And you're right on the head, because I just had this conversation yesterday with a client, right? Where it's kind of like the scene from Big Short, right? Where the two guys from Brownfield are like celebrating because they're like, we just made a bunch of money. And then you have the guy telling them like, "Hey, you guys literally just won, but everyone else
Broke the
lost."
housing market. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
So
that
it's
scene.
kind of, where they're in the casino, right? And I think that that's kind of where people don't realize that's the kind of pivotal moment we're in right now, right? Where it's like everyone's wishing for the rates to come down, but what that means is, unfortunately, people will lose jobs, right? And if people lose jobs, then loans don't get easier, right? It doesn't all of a sudden get easier for you to qualify for a loan. Yeah, exactly. It squeezes everything in. People are not realizing that. And that actually makes loans harder. That means underwriting actually is going to get more strict.
You know the other thing it means?
What?
The other thing it means is all these people that are wishing for lower rates, you get just a slight uptick in unemployment. They're going to sit on their hands and do nothing.
Exactly.
They're going to do nothing, just like last time. I'm scared. No, do nothing. Pretty
And
crazy.
I think and I think the biggest thing too is, as rates, like if the market shrinks, right? Do you think DSCR is going to be around, like, lending out loans left and right when the market is crashing? Like, probably not. So it's kind of like one of those things where we keep saying, like, if you like it, lock it. If you're buying something and you have something, you're doing the work, purchasing the property, make sure you have margins built in, and you're actually buying something that's not going to be an alligator come, a year later.
Right. Yeah. You got to do the work, write disrespectful offers. I still think this is a great market for investors who are willing to do the work and write the offers that make sense today. Get the right debt structure to match your intention, whether that be a long-term hold or, a year-long flip, whatever it is. So let's get into it. Before I went out on my trip to Asia, you had some DSCR loans sub 6%. Are they still around? Are they all gone? Are they absorbed? What's going on? Can you still do DSR sub 6?
Yeah, so after they made the most recent, if you look at the last video talking about it, they restricted the portfolio a little bit in terms of like 60% loan to value, single family residences. After that, obviously the pool's not as hot. So that program is still around, for DSCR, but now it's 575 on a
Oh,
30-year fixed with a 5-year prepay at
all right.
60% loan to value, rate
Okay.
and term or
Okay.
purchase, no cash out, with a
Okay.
minimum loan amount of 150. So that is still around.
30-year
Um
fixed. 30-year
30-year
fixed.
fixed, correct. Yeah. So I think it's kind of a good program for a lot of people that have the cash to put down to the property, but want to,
Yep.
not take any cash out and just want to keep cycling it, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that's available. And then DSCR is still, like, on a general sense, right? If you're at 25% down, you're still pricing in at like the mid to high sixes. They're at like six
Wow, you
five,
still have a
six
6
six
handle.
seven. Yeah, absolutely.
Huh.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
really
And
wild what's going on there. Okay.
exactly. And I think if anything, we're hearing rumblings that hopefully the floor is gonna let out a little bit. And that means that right now the
Yeah.
floor you can buy it down to is like 6.3, 6.2, but hopefully the floor opens up where you can buy it down into the fives. And if that happens again,
If that happens, oh
it's
yeah.
gonna open up a lot of volume again. But that's kind of like the rumblings we're hearing on the street.
Dude, that is,
Haven't
I
been
mean,
established yet.
whenever that happens, you got to reach out to me. We have to do an emergency broadcast when that happens because I think a
Yeah.
5 handle, even if it's 599, that's a magical psychology. If you
Yep.
get 30-year fixed 599, we're going to have to talk about that if that happens
Yeah,
immediately.
and shout out to one of listeners, the but he refied, and he was smart. He looks like he was like, we just had the conversation. He was like, I look like a genius now because I refied all these loans at 5.25 and 5.3 when you told me to do so. And you bought it down to like 30-year fixed and 5.5, and now I look like a genius while everyone else is like still waiting for it to happen. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's the way it works. But it was available, everyone. It was available for that blip, right? For that little blip of like a
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
We were writing loans in like the low fives, mid fives. That was the time
I,
to do it.
I
I don't
remember.
hopefully it happens again, but that's kind of that, where we were.
Well, let's talk about one more thing. I heard, again, I've been gone a couple of weeks. You had bridge loans, again, some qualifiers there, but you had some bridge loans sub 8. Do I remember that right? What the heck? Sub 8?
Yep. 799. That was the program, 85% loan to cost for very experienced buyers and flippers. Um Very great program for a lot of people that want to hold for that year, because it's 12-month interest only, but with no prepayment penalty. But it's so close enough. It's like so close to an actual like non-conforming loan,
Yeah,
right?
you're going to get in the mid sevens. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
just
crazy.
gap it. Yeah, exactly. So the carry payment's not that much. This is, again, for someone that's very experienced, over like $150,000 total loan. Like, these are like top tier borrowers that do it, but the majority of everyone else is falling between like 8.5 to 9, which is also not bad, right?
Yeah,
In the
not bad.
current market. But that 799 has really opened up a lot of doors for a lot of
That's
clients to be able to kind of do hold. Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's why if we ever got back to even 599 on the DSCR one that we just talked about, we got to do something. We got to do a broadcast on that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that would be crazy. Let's answer the last question for folks. We always tell people go to convoyhomeloans.com and let them know you came from ORAT. But let's actually show them this time. So go ahead and I'll actually bring it up here. All right, I'm sharing your screen. We're on the home
All
page.
right. Okay, so we're on the homepage. So this is our homepage.
Yep.
You're gonna notice that there's a tab on the left side that shows up no matter what page you're on. It says apply now.
It says apply now. That little blue button, guys, right there.
Yep. And then it pops up this, right? You can fill all this out. And then if you go to how did you hear about us, you click here and you see one rental at a time right there.
There you go, folks. All you got to do is click that little drop down. How'd you hear about us? Select one rental at a time. Done.
Yep. And then next, and it goes submit.
There you go. So again, it's under the apply now button, correct?
Yep. Apply now. Any tab you're on, you just click apply now on the left side and it'll pop up this way.
Yep. So again, in the apply now button, they're basically saying what they want, what they think they need. And again, the power of selecting one rental at a time means that I'll call it a lead, for lack of a better term, goes to you and your partner, Dustin. It doesn't go in the main queue. You two guys get that one, correct?
100%.
Yeah. So folks, you want this guy, you want his partner, Dustin. They're there to help you. Nothing but amazing feedback from anybody that's worked with these two guys. Jonathan, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think the main thing is obviously do the work, find a good deal, but make sure that you're not waiting for rates to drop, right?
Yeah.
And the best example that I'm going to bring up again, because people might have forgotten from when we talked about it, August to now, right? I just did a comparison for a client, exactly the same. So if you're thinking that rates are all of a sudden going to shoot down further, right? That's like, just wash away with that thought and continue to invest on what is today's rates, today's market, because I think this is still, like you said, a great buying opportunity. There's a lot of value to be bought here. And there's so many more tools to buy now than there was, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, even. So this is the time to capitalize on that. Definitely reach out to us, reach out to the other guys on the channel, but this is the time. So don't look for the rates. Look at the actual, cash flow, look at the actual property itself and roll with that.
Yeah, folks, we're not doing, buy the house, date the rate nonsense. We've never done that. I'm on video saying that's a stupid strategy. Only do deals that make sense today with the current, financial package that you could put together. If it makes sense, great. If it doesn't make sense today, given the financing, offer less or don't buy the deal. It's that simple. Jonathan, you and your partner, Dustin, are amazing. Take care.
Thank you.